part of the problem is that our society is so driven to like put us in this state of fight and flight that we're always thinking that there's something more important going on, or we have to hurry because either someone's going to yell at us, or we're going to not get that promotion, or we're not a good enough parent, or we make up all these rules that we have to like be better, do better, and we never sit down to just, okay, what's really important for me? What do I need?
That is today's wonderful guest, Ingrid Alm, who shares some of the principles from her new book. I'll translate the Norwegian title, We Should Have More Time, which is a guide to stressing less, playing more, and living life together. And I think that the principles in this book really offer a chance to perhaps reassess some of our current values, make sure the new version we have installed right now, so to speak, is aligned with how we're living our lives or how we want to live our lives in the future. So we take some of the overarching principles from her book and discuss them today. I know you're going to get a lot of value out of this one, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out and letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. Quick reminder, we have a newsletter over at ZeroToTravel.com/newsletter. That goes out once a week, and it's free. You can sign up over there. I want to let you know you can find Ingrid Alm's work over on Instagram at TYRITROLL. We'll link up to that in the show notes. A couple quick and important announcements before we dive in. First of all, it's with a heavy heart that I do want to let you know, although you may hear some references to Ingrid's recent pregnancy. This was recorded a while ago, and since then, she gave birth to a beautiful boy, Frick, who unfortunately was stillborn. And a very difficult time, obviously, for her and her family. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that and send love to her and to her family, and our deepest condolences. On behalf of everyone listening here, we can just take a quick moment of silence for him. Now, let's talk about today's show a bit before we dive in. You know, one of the common terms that people use here in Norway is this idea of the hamster wheel. And that's the sort of the endless running around that is the modern day life, or can be. And I think one of the core values that unites this audience is that idea of an unconventional life. Whatever that means to you, you get to define it. And how do we break out of this hamster wheel situation? How do we get more time for ourselves? Again, going back to what I said at the top, perhaps it's about just reassessing our values, making sure we're aligned with them, and making choices that are based on them. And there's a lot going on in this conversation. We talk about a lot of different sort of overarching themes that can apply to anyone's life, whether you're an individual, you're in a couple, or you're a family unit with children. By the way, if you enjoy this one, I highly encourage you to go listen to my last interview with Ingrid, who had an incredible adventure she took with her husband, her dog, and her son, who was 4 at the time. They walked from Oslo all the way to the Nordkapp. Well, they took human-powered travel the whole way, and it's quite an adventure. And I'm so excited to have her back on to share her wisdom and her professional insight and her experience writing this book. And we're going to dive in now. Stick around on the back end. I'll leave you with a quote. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the other side, my friend. Cheers.
Dørene lukkes.
Ingrid Alm, welcome back to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friends.
Thank you.
One of my all-time favorite guests, dare I say. It's true. And I feel spoiled because we're sitting in your kitchen, which is super colorful, and you have a super cozy apartment here in Oslo. And you just made me American pancakes, which were like dynamite and way better than what I can make. So congratulations. And I'm like, oh, what's the recipe? You got to send it. And what did you say?
I wing it.
Yeah, you're just winging it. I'm just like, this isn't even fair. Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation to the book launch party, which was incredible. I got to go to one of the local travel stores where you hosted it. Mm-hmm. Your book, of course, in Norwegian, but it will be coming out in English at some point.
Hopefully.
Skulle Hatt Mer Tid.
Yeah.
You want to translate that for everybody?
We should have more time.
We should have more time.
We always run out of time.
Family guide to stressing less, playing more, and living life together.
Yeah.
Sort of like a direct translation. I do want to preface this chat with you. I'm so excited. You got so many great ideas in this book. You have like a real unconventional, unique approach to, I think, just to life and some of the different aspects of life. And so I'm excited to like dive into those because they're right in this, within the spirit of this podcast. But I do want to preface it with the idea that this isn't, I think a lot of the concepts in here, it's not just for families.
No, it's not.
I mean, this can be for individuals, for couples.
Yeah.
For sure. We have to link back also to the first show we did because there was a lot of value in that one. We talked about play, the importance of play and things like that. So we're going to
My favorite topic. Yeah, I think actually writing the book kind of made me want to have another kid because because I interviewed 9 different families that live a bit different, and it was so inspiring to see that family life can be all these things. You don't have to follow this one recipe. You can wing it. Because I thought I had to do all this stuff as a parent and follow the rules, but it's not that.
What rules did you think you had to follow that it turned out you were completely wrong? Like just, a few examples you can think of.
I guess in some ways the American dream or the Norwegian dream, like you have to have a house and a car and 2 kids. No, I'm going to have 2 kids because I want to, not because I thought I had to.
Right.
You have to work, you have to follow the corporate ladder. Maybe go on a holiday during summer break, but other than that, you just have to be busy and important, and your well-being and playfulness and rest is not that important. Yeah. I didn't fit in those kind of conditions. I lost myself and I had to find myself some way, and to experience that family life also can include traveling and include taking a gap year and live in a sailboat or drive in a van down Europe, or you can do a lot of things, and you're not a bad parent for that reason. And I think because of my work experience, it's also easier to see that. I worked in psychiatry and kids psychiatry and in schools. Yeah. And you can also see that modern society it's not all good. There's also downsides with the society and the package that gets along with it. So maybe we can wing it a little bit more and find our own rules for living.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning your background because that's huge, because a lot of the points you're making in the book and in your other book too is also grounded in, some research and science and psychology and all that kind of stuff. What advice do you give to somebody who is in the phase where they're like, okay, I do feel in my soul that the way society is, I don't necessarily fit in with that in a perfect way. You feel like an unconventional life perhaps is maybe more suited to you, but you don't really know how to make up those rules for yourself. I don't know if you guys sat down and assessed your values, and not enough people would even take a few hours in a cafe or something to just think big picture. Is my life going in the direction I want it to be going? I mean, do you have any practical things that you would recommend for people to do?
Yeah, I think it's a huge point that we don't even have time for that. To just
right, that pretty much says it all. Yeah.
We're so busy, or we think that we're so busy, because I think a part of the problem is that our society is so like driven to like put us in this state of fight and flight that we're always thinking that there's something more important going on, or we have to hurry because either someone's going to yell at us, or we're going to not get that promotion, or we're not a good enough parent, or we make up all these rules that we have to like be better, do better, and we never sit down to just, okay, what's really important for me? What do I need?
Yeah.
So I guess what the family in the book have in common is they have an epiphany for some reason. Maybe some in the family died, or someone close to them died, and they're like, "Oh, we're running out of time.
Yeah,
this is the one life we got.
Yeah,
we
like
have
a
to
wake up call kind of thing." Yeah.
And they were assessing their values and okay, why are we living in this way? What about our dreams? It's not. I think at least in Norway, we're like programmed to think that when we retire, we're gonna get all the time and we can put our dreams in the retirement section, kind of. But what if you don't get that far, or if something happens, and the dreams you have now is important for you now? So like embrace them, and find time for them. So I guess first you have to get in touch with your values again and set some time for that. And the other thing the families in the book had in common, they set a date. 2 years time, 1 year time, we're going to do this and this. And the third thing was this playful approach to it. Like it was an experiment somehow.
Yeah.
We're just going to try it. It's not a big deal. We can always go home.
It takes a lot of like stress off of it, right?
Yeah. We can turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to sail all the way to the Caribbean from Oslo.
No.
For example. That was like one of the families in here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for us, we didn't have to walk all the way to Nordkapp if we didn't enjoy ourselves. We can always turn back or rent a cabin or, do something else.
Yeah. That's great advice. That works on so many levels. Even if you're just, let's say you're booking your first like solo travel trip. Yeah. You're nervous. You know, you have safety concerns, whatever. You just like, just like that idea that you can always just come home. You know, it's sometimes it gets forgotten, you know, because you build it up so much. Yeah. You know, but especially with these bigger adventures too, I'm sure like having a light touch or like a playful touch when you're planning a 2,000 kilometer journey, or like you guys most recently were in the States, if you want to talk about your experience there and what you did, but it must help a lot to kind of take that approach because otherwise it can feel a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, then I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
It would be too intimidating or too big a
like
deal.
Kind of like it's okay if we don't make it all the way kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are also programmed to think that we have to do this one thing perfect, or if we don't achieve what we said we were going to do, it's a failure somehow. Yeah. And I also think that that's bull. We have to like be allowed to like fail and try and follow a dream and, okay, it wasn't what I thought it was, but at least I tried. Yeah. And I rearranged my plans when I figured it wasn't like I thought it would be. Yeah.
Failure is essential.
Yeah.
It's not even optional, really.
No.
You know, to actually do some interesting things in life, you have to fall on your face. Yeah. If you're playing it safe all the time.
We're not supposed to. And I think also a lot of families think they have to be perfect parents. And that's also...
Oh, yeah, I beat myself up constantly.
Yeah. And it's just a shame because we're not supposed to be. It's a good thing when we mess up and the kids see that we fail and we try again and we apologize and there's so much learning when we fail and figure it out and show them how to repair and get back together again. And I messed up. It's part of being human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say that to my kids sometimes. I'm like, I'm a human just like you guys. Like I try to remind, because I remember being young and thinking that you think your parents are like superhuman. Like they're not even people almost. Yeah. You know, and it might still stay that way even if you tell them, but then you get to an age where you realize, oh, they're just a person,
Yeah.
just like me. And then
Yeah.
that's pretty eye-opening. And then there's that whole phase, and that's interesting. And you're like getting to know your parents as they are as people.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa. You're afraid of what you find. No. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. You're listening. No, I'm kidding. I love you. But that's the cycle of life.
Yeah. And it can also make us relax. Like, oh, they're not perfect. I don't
Yeah.
have to be either. That's
Yeah, right.
a relief.
Yeah. Having a background in child psychology, I mean, what are some of the things that you think are really healthy for a family that aren't necessarily the things that people are talking about enough?
Play and time to do nothing.
Time to do nothing.
Yeah.
As in, like, no screens, no plans,
schedule.
no
So many plans all the time.
no sports games.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And 3 rehearsals a week. And then there's the game. And then there's another activity. And then we have to go to this birthday party. And then
Yeah.
we don't have time for nothing. And I think that's a huge loss in our modern society. Because when we get a bit bored, it can be a bit inconvenient, but it's really important to get bored sometimes and not just look at the screen,
Yeah.
but actually get in touch with what I feel, how am I, what are the feelings telling me, and also creativity. You don't get in touch with that part of yourself if you're always like stimulated. Is that
Yeah.
the word? Yeah. I think modern kids maybe have less time to do nothing and be creative. And that's a loss because in play, they get to know each other. They get to figure out how to solve other problems in life. They practice in play first. A lot of our emotions is processed through play and creativity.
Yeah.
If you look to art and movies and music,
Sure.
yeah. All the big songs is about love or loss, right?
Yeah, right.
Because we process the emotions in art and creativity and play. If you don't have enough time to do nothing, get bored, and then be creative, we also see that today's children get more anxious because they don't get to process their emotions properly.
Yeah. How do you balance the desire to expose your child to something so they can discover their own passions, right? Like a good example is football or soccer, we say in America.
Yeah.
Right? My kids, they want to play. My son's like way into it. He's got the cards. He's, so of course, like I'm going to take him to the soccer practice. And, but then, when you sign up for that, you're also signing up for all the things we talked about, the scheduled things, the regular practices and all that, which it doesn't take away from anything you're talking about, like the unplanned time and stuff. You can still have that, but it can start to infringe on it in a certain way. Like it's interesting because I have 2 kids. My daughter is just in 2 activities, football and taekwondo.
Cool.
She's like kicking some serious ass.
Yeah.
And my son just started football.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. Like,
No.
our limit is like, we can't do more than 2.
No.
But with those 2,
Yeah.
it's almost every day something going on.
Yeah. There's so
And
much.
then I'm just like, dang it,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we appreciate unstructured time and
Yeah.
and we will do a thing where we're like, you know what, we're not doing any activities this week, and we just respond no to everything. But there's that balance between like wanting to expose your child, or you could say, like, if people are listening, they don't have kids, like yourself, to different activities and try new things, but not scheduling every minute. Like, any thoughts on that balance?
Yeah, there is a balance. And I think we have to like tightrope though.
Yeah.
We do it all the time here as well because there's a lot of fun things going on and there's a lot of play in taekwondo and football and there's a way of being like when it's from your inner lust and when it's fun for you, then it's also play.
Yeah.
It's not because someone told me I had to go to this taekwondo thing,
Right.
but because I want to do it.
Yeah.
If you just are conscious about it and like put in some time each week for nothing. Okay, this week we have a lot of things going on, but Sunday is nothing time. We have to like do nothing for a little bit and just digest the week mentally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm guessing because of your experience with your first child, there's not really much anxiety for you around, oh, like I'm going to feel limited for, it's hard to have a newborn. There's certain things, maybe it makes things a little difficult.
Yeah.
A little more difficult, but you're feeling, seems like you're generally upbeat about it as you are.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel to have another book out? Like this was one of your dreams to become an author, and now you have this second book.
Yeah.
And it's selling so well here that they're printing a new edition, which you
Yes.
just told me before we started recording. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm wondering how you feel having achieved a dream. Like sometimes people, I mean, it's like the old adage in celebrity world, right? Like, somebody's like going so hard to chase their rock and roll dream or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they finally make it and become famous. And then they're just like miserable and depressed. And, that's not you. Yeah. What's been your experience achieving this dream of becoming an author and like a travel writer, an adventurer, somebody who's providing, I think, immense value to a lot of people here that are taking in your ideas. And that's like all the things you wanted when you started talking about living an more unconventional life, right? In a way.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the vision in a way?
I think the vision was I want to write and see if I can live from it, or how do you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like make a living from your writing.
From writing. Yeah. So, it's starting to work out. And I have to remind myself that I'm living my dream. And I have to remind myself to be proud, because as Norwegian, we're not supposed to be proud. So just to feel that feeling, I love this way of living. I enjoy myself. You
should be proud.
Yeah.
That's why you have some American friends to help you be proud.
That's good.
Yeah. But I mean, for people listening, they maybe that sounds weird to them when they're hearing it for the first time. Why should Norwegians not feel proud?
Because we have this boat rule that's called janteloven. That's in our culture, that we shouldn't take up much space and not think that we're something. Just get along and be average.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the values in that is preventing kind of like narcissism and stuff. And that's, I don't know, good.
Mm.
But it also kind of strangles a lot of people from doing different things.
Yeah.
And explore.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be proud and enjoy myself and play with life, like the frames, and see how it works out.
Yeah.
And for me, writing is playing. It's a place where I feel safe and in flow and can express myself and work in my feelings and, my ideas. So I'm going to continue writing and see where it gets me.
Yeah, like anytime you can find that thing that puts you into the flow state where time just disappears, then it's like keep doing that thing, whether you're making a living at it or not.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for life. But that's a perfect example of like some of those things we collectively as humans, sometimes we don't make time for those things that are this goes back to what you were talking about before, like the productivity, the need for sort of like being productive and getting things done. And I think in our society, it's starting to become people are a little more aware of this, but I think it has been a problem where people, and I've done this in my own life, I'm speaking from personal experience, like, I shouldn't, work on this song for 2 hours. Like that's a waste of time. I got these emails to, write and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like I'll do it and then I'll feel guilty afterwards because I'll be like, all right, I went into like this whole other world writing this song and it was great, but now I didn't do anything. Like it wasn't a productive day.
Yeah.
But that's wrong.
It's so wrong.
Because everything has value.
Yeah.
And probably those things that get you in a flow state probably have more value.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we all have to make a living and balance the practical. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a whole section in your book called the system.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
This is kind of part of the system, right?
Yeah. And I think it's all backwards and messed up. And I think we should value more stuff or more variation of states and variation of work, like taking care of your neighbor or your kids that also have value, and taking care of yourself has value.
Yeah.
And resting and taking care of your mental health, if it's yoga or playing music or going out for a run, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good for you. And then it's also good for the planet and yourself and your neighbor, because when you get in a state where we're like in flow and we have capacity and not in this survival state, we're also more curious, empathic. We get to solve problems because our brain network works better. Because when we get too stressed, we can't use the whole of our brain. It's all about survival and getting to that one target. And back in the days, if it was a bear chasing us, that was a good thing, like getting out of that state of fear. But today it's all the same kind of state can be triggered by an overscheduled week or too many tasks at work. And we kind of lose this state where we're in flow and playful and empathic and see our neighbor in the eye and give someone a smile on the street. We kind of lose ourselves and our connection to the world, basically.
What did you guys do on your recent trip to the U.S.? Do you want to share a little overview for everybody listening?
Yeah, we have family in Seattle, and we studied in Berkeley, in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So the plan was to like walk on foot from Seattle to San Francisco in some way. So we started up in Olympic Park along the coastline. It was really nice and wet and wild and beautiful. And then the plan was to follow the PCT, but there was so much snow that year. It was like 18 meters, snow record. But we're Norwegian, so we had to try, right?
Love it.
But it didn't quite work out as planned. It was a bit steeper and a bit different than the Norwegian terrain. And we had to like, okay, this doesn't work out. We're getting too stressed and we're not playful and we're not good parents or good boyfriend and girlfriend. We're not looking our each other in the eyes anymore because we're so stressed and tired. So we had to do something else. So then we followed the Olympic Coast Trail, and we also we're winging it.
Yeah,
renting a car for a while, exploring parts of the PCT that was under the snow limit.
Yeah.
Went to Yosemite, Desolation Wilderness, isn't that? Yeah. And Lassen National Park. So I think we saw a lot of great spots, but not in the way we planned, but it was good.
Yeah. That's a great example of the sort of the playful experimental mindset at play. You guys were tuned in with, those values. It's like if you're leaning on those values, if you're like in the moment, you're like, we're not looking at each other in the eye anymore. We're stressed. This isn't why we're doing this. We're doing this. Not that every moment has to be like play. Oh, I mean, because part of the point is the challenge, which kind of leads me to my next question. How do you distinguish between we're going to challenge ourselves and it's okay to be uncomfortable and push past this because that's where the growth takes place, over this isn't fun anymore,
Yeah, I guess there's a sweet spot where you're too stressed and a bit stressed.
You just feel it.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling, yeah.
And also we try not to get too stressed at the same time. And I think it's also beneficial that my husband gets stressed and triggered by other things than I do. He's more worried about economy, cars driving fast by us, or that side of things. I'm really stressed about bears, cougars, the dark, avalanches,
serial killers.
Yeah.
No.
So I guess if you're both triggered at the same time, it doesn't work to be a family on a trip, because some of us have to be a good parent and be connected to our son, right?
Yeah.
So the way we did it is that Ole, my husband, went over to the US first. So he was there for a month to get his stress amount Yeah.
Kind of get acclimated
Yeah.
in a way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Get to know the terrain, get to know, okay, we don't have that much bear in Norway, so how do we work this? How do I keep my family safe?
Yeah.
How dangerous is it really?
Yeah.
When you
Because that's what he kind of needed to do that to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
collectively
Yeah.
makes the dynamic better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So altogether we were perfectly stressed.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, the idea of just whether it's a travel partner or for yourself or family,
Yeah.
being aware of the triggers and then just acknowledging them and being like, yeah, like, just so you know, these are the things that, so when I start, because sometimes I can feed off somebody's energy, if my wife's getting stressed and then I start getting, but if I'm more like, oh, I know, like when she's really, I hope she's not listening she's not, don't worry. She never listens to my podcast. When she, ironic, isn't it? She's like, I hear enough of you talking all the time. I don't need to listen to your podcast. I know when she gets really hungry.
Yeah.
For example, when she's hangry and then she's doing something and then I'm just like, oh, she's hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a break and have some snacks.
Yeah. But sometimes I even forget, But then when I do what I ask her, I'm like, are you hungry?
Yeah.
She's like, yes. I'm just like, okay, all right. I'm just going to stay out of the way. Can you have a banana or something, please?
Yeah.
And then it's just a little more, we can all get hangry or we have our version of that.
Yeah. We all get triggered and it's so different what we get triggered of and by. And I also learned doing research to the book, we have also this thing called glimmers. That's the opposite.
Glimmers.
Yeah. So it's something that sends cues to your nervous system that you're safe.
Oh, okay.
So get to know our triggers and glimmers.
It's like a biochemical thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So triggers.
I like the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the triggers sends cues to your nervous system that something is not safe.
Yeah.
There's something triggering me. I should get in a state of fight, flight, freeze, like something is dangerous.
Mm.
And that's not always true. There can be some triggers that are really old from your childhood that doesn't really
puts you into that state, but you're not at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And glimmers is the opposite. So like for me, it's like the sound of bird chirping, for example. When you listen to that, it calms the system. And then when I read about it, it's because back in the days when you lived in caves and stuff, it was really helpful to listen to the bird chirpers because that meant that there were no predators nearby.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So the Neanderthal in me will relax when he hears bird chirping and send cues to my nervous system that I'm safe. So to learn about your partner's triggers and glimmers in your own so you can regulate yourself in and out when you get triggered or too stressed so you can cope. It's a bit of a life hack for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a website called birdsong.fm.
Yeah.
Have you been on it? You
No.
can listen to all kinds of different bird songs.
Yeah.
So next time you're writing,
Yeah.
there you go. Go into your glimmer state.
Yeah.
When you guys did the human powered adventure to the Nordkap and then also on the PCT or whatever various times when you were disconnected, I want to talk a bit about sort of disconnected travel. I thought I read somewhere that you didn't really have a clock or you didn't really look at the time. Was that right? Did you just put away watches? And what was the most amount of time you spent without knowing the time?
I don't know, maybe 5 days.
Okay.
You lose track and you get, at least in Norway, you get more obsessed with the light than the time because the time ain't telling you that much. And same about the weather forecast. It was easier to just look up and see what the day brought us than checking everything all the time. And we were out of service and it was this great moment on the Oregon Coast Trail. We met this guy from Switzerland who was hiking from Mexico to Canada. And we had been hiking for a while from Canada and south. And it was so confused as well. We were like, okay, how long have you been out? Where did you start? And there was there was a river maybe a day ago or maybe an hour. I don't know, but you can cross it. So it was really meaningful to just see my own experience in him. But I didn't actually get any good information.
You could not look at a clock for several days. Somebody listening can do that, but we don't do it. We generally don't do it, right? We have too much stuff going on, appointments, calls, whatever. We just go by the clock for better or worse. But being out in nature, especially in Norway, it can be, with the light and everything, like you mentioned, sometimes you don't even know what's going on in terms of the time. Yeah, I guess I just want to hear a little bit more about that experience, not adhering to the clock.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to experience, and you can make time for it, even if you don't go out in the woods. You can, put it away for a day or a weekend. And I think that things we then experience, you listen more inwards. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I need to sleep? Am I tired? Because usually home we go by the clock. We go to sleep at 10, right? And we eat at 7, and then 3 hours later we eat again. And not always because we need to, because we think we have to. So outside, I think we go to sleep way earlier, from dusk to dawn. We sleep a lot. And I think also human beings need a lot of sleep. And that's also one thing we kind of lose track of in modern society, that sleep and rest is really meaningful and helpful for us. So that's one of the reasons or things that I'm getting out of it. Days without the clock. And also no rush. You don't have to make an appointment. You just do what you want to in the moment.
But it can be hard to slow down when you come from the modern society into that kind of situation. Yeah. I find. Yeah.
I think a lot of us are used to like stress hormones. So it feels a bit awkward to like shift gear or go into another phase. It's not comfortable because you're used to a higher pace, right? Yeah. And when you slow down, you kind of get to maybe get the thoughts that you're lazy or should be more productive or, Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I need to remind myself that being lazy or whatever is really productive. It's good for my brain to relax. Yeah. And be off screen and be on another time or schedule for a while.
Yeah, it's like reframing how you think of it. Yeah. Yeah, but not as a sort of a hack, as like an actual, this is grounded in science,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're not trying to trick yourself into saying, oh, well, if I'm lazy, then it's good for me. No. It actually is.
It is.
Yeah, right.
That's
so good.
That's
the big distinction. Yeah.
It's so good for us to be on another brave length. Yeah. Is that a word? Yeah.
Yeah. Did it take you a little time to feel, because I think, and you can talk about this from a psychological perspective if you have done any research or have experience with it. I mean, the smartphone usage is such a big part of our daily life. Yeah. And so when you go into an adventure like this, or you're traveling, you tend to be off it more. Yeah. Well, unless you're, whatever. That depends on who's listening. Whatever. Some people might be taking pictures and on it every 5 seconds. I find, when you're traveling, you're doing stuff. You're seeing stuff. You're busy. Yeah. But from a body sort of mind, biochemical kind of perspective, psychological perspective, do you think that element of travel is like, you don't need to travel to get off, but how much is that impacting like that feeling of like less stress and sort of, do you think?
I think it's a huge part. At least be conscious about how we use it and when we use it, and not just because I get so hooked on the dopamine behind these apps and I'm checking my phone constantly. I have to be aware that it's doing that, and I have to take breaks and like schedule a time for that as well. Yeah. On Saturday, we're going to put the phone away. I ask my husband to hide it so I don't find it. Yeah. Yeah. Or we go out of town and out of service. That's the best part, I think. Yeah. Because we talk about it's good to relax if you're like burning out or you had the too busy day. But relaxing, you also have to relax your brain, and a big part of that is putting away the phone and all the stimuli, and connect to nature or friends, family, the present moment. Yeah. So I think in my 20s I traveled a lot, and a big part of that was to get away from all this scheduling and all these appointments and just get to be for a while. So now I try to work that into my daily life. And a huge part of that is putting away the phone, and also use the word no more.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because that was something you put in the that you had in the book. I wrote it down actually. This is like a translation, but we say no more often. It is difficult, but also revolutionary for us.
Yeah.
To say it's revolutionary for you that's like a big statement, you know.
Yeah.
In a good way, because saying no more often sounds like it's really positively impacted your life. So I just want you to share your experience and advice around, you know, because FOMO, I think, is what drives a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, it can go here, just running around. It's harder to slow down if you're always afraid you're missing out, whether it's online or offline, I feel.
Yeah. For me, a big part of it was bad conscience, or like feeling like a bad person when I said no.
Yeah.
And that was my fear.
Like people would think, oh, she's...
Yeah. Like I would
not
disappoint
cool.
someone.
Right. Yeah, like that kind of thing, yeah. Like putting too much emotion into like what other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that also can be like a survival response, because you want to please everyone and don't get yelled at.
Yeah.
So when I slow down and try to meet my fears and like, okay, I'm not going to die if I disappoint anyone. Maybe that's a childhood fear. I'm not that little girl anymore. My friends are adults and they can handle being disappointed.
Right. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like face my fears basically, and a lot of those fears lies behind the word no, and try to work my life from the state of playfulness and love and empathy more than fear. So I have to stress down and then think of, okay, do I want to do this? Or do I just think I have to do this?
Am I doing it like because I feel obligated?
Yeah.
Which is kind of sometimes a false sense of obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not fair either. I think we should show up when we want to, and when we have love to give, not just because we think that it's nice.
Right.
I don't want nice anymore.
Yeah.
I want genuine engagement and
One of the things I was going to ask you, and we've already talked about slowing down, and that's been a part of your adventures and your travels. And I was going to ask you how we slow down in a world that's speeding up. Really, it is speeding up. Like, it sounds like I'm trying to be clever in that question, but it's true. Like, the world we have the same amount of time, but it's just with the information and the flow, like our brains aren't made to take in the amount of like information and things, only getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
Well, you just shared a great one, saying no more often. That's like a practical tactic that people can use. And we've talked about some other things. Can you think of anything else that we might have missed out? Like maybe as I'm talking to you, maybe that's one of the big takeaways here, like whether you're traveling or not, maybe slowing down is one of the things I'd like for people to come out of this conversation with, and trying to if you have a hard time doing that, maybe you can share a bit more on how we could do that if you have any more tips. And then maybe people listening experiment and play with that and try slowing down for a week and see how it feels, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing the same. I do this for myself too. I do this podcast for myself. So this is what I'm taking from it. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a practice, and I'm practicing still. One of the things that I picked up from my travels and neuroscience is that I can relax before I do the rest of the to-do list. I don't have to relax after my to-do list. Yeah. Because I thought I had to finish and then do something enjoyable. I think it's part of childhood memory. Like, okay, I have to do my homework and then I can go out and play.
Sure.
But an adult now. I can rearrange that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's so good for my nervous system. And then I get out of this fight, flight, freeze states and I get back to myself and I can use my whole brain. And then I can use problem solving more easily and I can be more flexible and I can find other solutions to my problems than I would if I would just keep being busy and stressed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I come home after a busy day, I can take 2 minutes on the couch and then I can do the rest of the things I think I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can rearrange them or I can just put them away. Or maybe it wasn't that a rush or a bigger deal that I thought it was when I was stressed and triggered.
Were the Americans nice to you? How did you find the Americans over there? Were they okay?
They were so great.
Woo!
It surely was.
Dodged a bullet there. She's like, get out of my house now. Yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
They were good to you. All right. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. And I think when you travel slow, you have to give people tillit. What's the American word?
Permission.
Permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to trust in them.
Yeah.
And do the best. And they were so helpful and we got hiked by beautiful people, hitchhiked, and some of them were so genuine and open and friendly.
That you picked up or that you guys hitchhiked?
They helped us and drove us to the next hiking point, hiking trail. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good to hear. Yeah. I mean, what were some of the places that you went in the U.S. that you felt like these are wonderful places to visit? Just curious destination. Well, we're always looking for some destination recommendations.
I love the Redwood Forest.
Yeah, spectacular.
Yeah. The trees are so amazing and the people along the coast were amazing as well. And also Yosemite and Distillation Wilderness was great. Olympic Park Coast Trail was beautiful. Yeah, it got so much spectacular nature and the starry sky and the friendly people. And everyone was like, are everyone treating you okay? That was the main question.
See, I just did it. We're looking out for the visitors.
Yeah, you do.
Well, there's a good feeling when people have visited your home country and that they had a good experience, something about that.
Yeah.
You people visit Norway, you want them to feel...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to be nice to our guests, and that's good.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
I just read that the oldest tree in the world is in California, and it's almost 5,000 years old. I didn't realize a tree could live that long. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And when we were up in Olympic Park Trail, there was this native tribe. I went to this museum. I read about their culture along the big cedar trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And how they were talking to the trees before they cut them down and taking in their wisdom and the vibration from the trees before, okay, can we make a canoe out of you? No, the answer was no. We have to ask another tree tomorrow.
Really?
The respect for nature was in their culture in a whole different way and was so interesting to read about.
Yeah. Do you think that, because Norway and nature, those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
People, at least if you're looking at the travel marketing, they definitely go hand in hand. But no, I mean, you guys have a very strong connection with nature, I feel. And it's, it's one of the values in society for sure, getting out in nature.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's genuine?
I think yes, in some ways. But when we see at what the politicians do in Norway, it's what? I think we're cutting away our heritage kind of because we'll lose track or connection with nature. We have a lot of forest, but a lot of forest is just planted, it's not the old growth forest.
Right, yeah.
We cut it down because we want bigger roads, bigger
cabin areas.
Yeah, cabins. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
And also Norway is the first nation in the world to say yes to deep sea mining. And I think that's so embarrassing because that's we don't know enough about it at all.
Yep.
So I think maybe we Norwegians are a bit superficial. We think we have a lot of nature, but we don't treat it with respect always.
I've been trying to figure that out lately.
Yeah.
After I had I'll call it an incident in my neighborhood where like people wanted to cut down a tree and I was against it, and my wife, and we got into a thing because I was, blocking a little bit of their shade for, a month out of the year or something.
Yeah.
And it was just a thing that kind of sparked this idea of, when you go to another country and I'm a Norwegian citizen now.
Yeah.
But, you try to take in what the values are from the outside, and you can read about them and everything. And then you can get like the ones that resonate with you, you can feel connected with. You're like, oh, I like how they do this here. They do this. This is a good way. Like, it's good that I value nature. Like, I think it's good. I do think that this society values nature in a way that is healthy. Like if you look at the daycares, we call it the daycare, the kindergarten daycare thing. It's called Barnehage here, but they're they're outside all the time, no matter what the weather. That kind of thing. That's really important and good. But then I also wonder, is there also this element of sort of like it's like every other Western country where it's like, yeah, we love nature until it's like in our way.
Yeah.
And like we're in a cabin and there's trees here and we want to get this mountain view. So we're just going to cut these trees down.
We got so much
like
nature.
We love it until it's inconvenient for us. That kind of idea.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting.
It is.
And
I think also Americans, we can learn a lot from the US when it comes to national park and to respect nature and for the value of nature itself, not because so I think we Norwegians maybe think we have a lot of nature, and we may be a bit spoiled that we think we have so much of it, we can just cut down these 2 trees, it doesn't matter. And then suddenly everyone does that all over the place. And now we're actually in shortage of real nature because we don't value it as much as we should. So I think we can learn a lot from the American state parks, and like when we visit, we're guests in nature, and we have to treat it with respect, and we have to bring our food out and bring our trash out.
I wouldn't say we always do that too, but it was just, I think overall it's a good solid connection with nature, and I do think it's, none of these things are like black and white. It's always shades of gray.
Yeah.
Speaking of another complicated issue, what is wrong with school? And on the practical side, maybe some advice around taking your kid out of school for an adventure, travel, gap year, whatever. And again, like, you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of how Norwegian schools do it. I'm looking for more maybe things that can apply to anybody listening, that perhaps it's how you talk to your kid, what the sort of any advice around that. But we can start with what you think is wrong with the schools, because this is something that you have a whole section in your book on.
I think it reflects our society in many ways. And if you look to the UN and the Children Constitution, you can see that they actually comment and are worried about our Western culture and how we respect kids' time to play and relax, because we're so busy and the school starts early, they last long. In Norway, I think it applies in other countries as well. We think that learning is sitting behind the desk and writing, and learning is so much more. We're human beings, and we can explore and we can learn everywhere, and we're curious. So I think we have to look at learning in a different way, and I think the Norwegian school and the school system in other countries as well are too rigid, and think that children should just sit down and take in knowledge instead of being those incredible human beings that they are. They're so curious and they want to learn, and they learn everywhere. It's in their design, and I think we should respect that more. And also, when you look at the science and how kids develops and how brains develop, we also see that they need more play and they need more time to relax and just be. So it applies for them as well. And I guess that's a huge part of the book, because it reflects our values.
Yeah.
As adults and kids, and we need to do something different. We have to value different things than we do today.
Yeah.
So taking kids out of school for a while or a gap year, I think it's really healthy. And the families I interviewed for the book also, we are so afraid that our kids will fall behind or lose something, but the families actually done this and been away for a year. They actually come back stronger as a family, and the kids that were kind of tired of school before they went are eager to learn. They have learned a lot. They
re-energized kind of. Yeah.
And have a different kind of self-esteem.
Yeah.
And safety in themselves, and like, yeah, I can handle this. I've been sailing in the Caribbean, or I have been in the mountains for 2 months. I can handle doing this math or reading this book.
Have you found that with Mons? That
yeah,
has his confidence gone up since the?
Yeah, I think so. And he also have like different things. He knows himself in more ways.
Yeah.
And then he sees that school is important and it's a part of life, but it's just a part.
Yeah.
It's not my whole being
right.
or my whole life. So I think for him, he is a boy. He's born in November. So he's not the fastest reader. He's not developed in that way.
It takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. But he has walked all the way to Nordkapp.
Right. Nobody can take that away from him.
No.
I guarantee nobody else in the class did that.
So he got his self-esteem in his backbone. It's like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can handle the world. Bring it. Bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Can you think of any other things you wrote about in the book? For example, you mentioned the glimmer and triggers and some of these things, like maybe any of the other concepts that you wrote about that you might want to highlight that you think would be important to just share with listeners here, whether it's, playing to get off the what you call the hamster wheel or
I think we covered a lot of it. I think maybe the big epiphany for me is that when I think something is impossible or not doable, it's usually because I'm in a state of mind that that's connected to survival mode. It's not the truth, and I don't have to buy into my thoughts. When I'm in that mood, I just need to put myself back together again and give myself what I need, and then go back to the problem. So it might not be impossible to take that year off, or it might not be impossible to shift work. It could be that you're just in a state where it seems impossible. And I think the neuroscience behind that is so interesting. So yeah, that's the big life hack for me, that most things are doable if I just get back to myself again, kind of.
Okay. Yeah. That's great advice. That's awesome. Thank you for doing this. Do you think that with some of the sort of unique ideas in the book and some of the stuff we talked about today relating to the system the society we live in now, do you think that things are going in the right direction, in the sense that, like, do you imagine in 20, 50 years from now, like, I know this is a big question, because we're not talking, there's a lot of problems, climate change and deforestation, all these things, but just strictly from like sort of the perspective of maybe changing, education and giving kids more free time, or, kind of like people accepting that maybe being productive all the time isn't healthy. And like, that could be an institutional change. Like they go down to, I know there's some people experimenting with a 4-day work week, and less work time and things like that. Universal basic income. There's all these sort of systemic things that people are working on. Who knows if any of those will come to pass? I'm just curious in your thoughts. Do you think that things will be instituted that will kind of get us away from sort of like the hyperactive, I need to be productive all the time kind of, mentality, and getting the chance to, let's say, be more human, for lack of a better term? But, you mentioned kids. When I think of kids, I think of they're like a reflection of like everything beautiful about humans.
Yeah,
right?
they
Like
are.
in ways.
Yeah.
And we should have more of them in us
Yeah.
as adults.
We should
Going
learn
back
more
to the
from
play
them.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your hopes for, what are your hopes and what do you think your realities are for,
The future.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. And I think I see changes in all of us, and I think we're at a like dipping point. No, how do you say it?
Yeah.
Like
tipping point?
tipping point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we start treating ourselves better, we get more empathic and we get more curious and we become more in touch with that inner child and the children around us and our humanity and our planet and the creatures around us. And I think if we slow down, we can get there. And I think we are. I think we start to see the reality in a different way. And the science behind it helps. It's not just voodoo.
Sure.
Yeah. It's
like just play, This is like there's
Yeah.
actual,
it's not like just hippie wumbo jumbo. It's actual brain science.
Yeah.
We need to relax. We need to play. We need to be more connected to each other on the planet.
Yeah.
That's how we thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about what you have planned for the future in terms of play?
We want to go up north and maybe rent a house or a cabin there for a year and just live with the elements and the northern lights and fish and explore. And we'll see. If we love it, we'll stay. And if we hate it, we'll come back home.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's an experiment.
Yeah.
You're going to play and have a good time.
We're going to try.
I saw proper Northern Lights the other night.
You did?
Spectacular. Yeah, I've seen it before only one time.
Yeah.
And it's just been one of those things where I'm like, I live in Norway. How have I not seen these more? But we were up on this cabin trip and they were dancing and shimmering and it was like it was so spectacular. It was I can't describe. I mean, just what a phenomenon. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah.
Play like the Northern Lights, I guess, right?
That's
we can
a good
say.
quote.
Thank you. Do you want to leave us with like one of your favorite Norwegian sayings? Do you have one? A quote, perhaps? Too much pressure. We can just end it.
Good Norwegian quote.
Maybe perhaps your pancake recipe? No.
Wing it. I don't know. Finnes ikke dårlige vær, bare dårlige klær.
Yeah.
Er det ikke det?
No such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing.
Yeah, get out there.
Get outside. Awesome. Well, let's high five it out.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, and hope to have you back again
I would love to.
at some point. Congrats on the book, and we'll link everything up in the show notes that we mentioned. Thanks, Ingrid.
Thank you for having me.
There you have it. I want to thank Ingrid for stopping by the show. We got to do that one in person. What a pleasure. And I want to leave you with a quote from her in a moment. First, be sure to check out her Instagram and follow her over there if you want to see what she's up to. And I do want to remind you, we have a newsletter over at zerototravel.com/newsletter. It's free to sign up. It goes out once a week. I just flipped to a page in her book, Skulle Hatt Mer Tid. We should have had more time. And found a great quote right away. Hope this book comes out in English soon because I know you're going to love it. For those English speakers, for those Norwegian speakers listening, be sure to grab a copy. Okay. I'll take it in Norwegian first. She said, Livet ble bedre når det gikk litt saktere. And that translates to life is better when it goes a little slower. So there you go. I'll leave you with that one. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by zerototravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.